Hello,
Hi, we're
it's
here.
us.
Just two-thirds of us.
Two-thirds of us.
Yeah. The other third is away.
Yes, she is. She is taking some very needed rest and relaxation and recovery. So
Is that what
she's,
we're calling it? Has she said? I mean, I
I
don't
don't
want to
know.
say.
I don't
I don't
know. So I don't
say.
want to
I don't
say.
remember. Yeah. She's really taking some time to take care of things that needed taking care
Needed to be taken care of for a very long time.
for
I
very
love
long.
Stephanie, but she puts everybody else first but herself, and that is
I mean,
not.
probably the only mom in the world that does that. So she's alone in that club, right?
Yeah, like I absolutely don't do that. I mean, I put a lot first, but I also put myself in there as well. I have a
I,
lot of,
I put myself in. I scheduled myself. I scheduled myself in, but I get it. I get that. Well, how am I? How's the world going to turn if I'm gone, or if I'm not there, or if I can't take care of this or that? Then what happens? I understand that too. Yeah. I mean, Stephanie, did you just?
did you hear me yell that?
I didn't hear you, but I can lip read very clearly what you just
What did I say?
you said. Fuck off to somebody.
No, I said, can someone let the dog in?
It totally looked like you said from the side, your lips move that way. Okay. You didn't tell your, I was like, who did you just tell to fuck off?
No, no.
Your
No, I
children.
wouldn't have muted for that.
Was that, yeah, I'm like, why did you mute for that? Um, yeah. So anyways, that's not it's not a rare theme, is it? It's an actual trope of parenthood is to put yourself, is to schedule yourself right out of life. And Stephanie's the one who loves talking about pour from your saucer, fill up your cup. She loves talking about fill up your cup. And she's always operating on, half cup.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, with me, it's like, I mean, God, I hope her children love her to death because she does so much for them.
They better, or I'm
And
going to kick their
and
asses.
I would be like, fuck off. I don't have time for that.
Yeah. She's a very, very attentive mother. She's the best. And
Yep. She
and
puts
she's
me
got
to
a great
shame.
partner, so they should be fine
Yeah.
because Roger's good. And
Yeah.
she'll be back next week though. So
Yeah, I hope so.
don't
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
worry. She'll be back next week,
Yep.
uh and because next week is
Is
our
book club.
book club week, so she can't miss that. So she's got to be here for that.
No, so if you're gonna join us for book club, we need you to email me at thepragmaticdoulas@gmail.com so I can send you the link for the class. And it'll be, I guess, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Oh,
Oh,
that's the time that
it,
we're recording
but
next week.
yeah, we can discuss that. But should we shoot
Mhm.
for 2?
That I don't. It's whatever. The earlier the better for me because I start to fade.
Yeah,
I start to fade
I
by
just have a
2.
meeting at 10:30, 10:30 that I have to attend.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, last week we actually forgot to do our land acknowledgement. So let us not.
did we? Oh,
Yeah, we
okay.
didn't do it. I remembered halfway through the show, and there didn't seem to be like a spot for it.
Plus, we were just like in and out. Ba-da-da, we were done.
And I think it's my turn.
Okay.
I think.
And we actually have a birth story today.
Woohoo!
How exciting is that?
Yeah,
We
that's
haven't
great.
had one of those in a very long time.
Yes. Nobody's had a baby until just now.
It's ridiculous, yeah. And this was 2 years ago. So,
Okay. So I'm going to read a land acknowledgement, which is something that we have committed to doing. Every once in a while we'll forget, but we remember, we dust ourselves off and we move forward. So We acknowledge that the land that we're standing on today, the land that we're recording this podcast on, is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. Toronto was built on sacred land that is part of an agreement between Indigenous peoples and then extended to allied nations to peacefully and respectfully care for it. By personally making this land acknowledgement, we are taking part in an act of reconciliation, honoring the land and Indigenous heritage, which dates back over 10,000 years. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, how are you doing? How is COVID treating you? You had your first virtual
Birth.
birth.
Virtual birth. Oh, it was good. I liked that a lot. I so liked not having to leave my house. Although I will say this, even if I had left my house to go to this birth, it was a very straightforward, quick kind of birth with birthing person going from 3 to 4 centimeters dilation to 9 at the next check. So those are the kind of births you want to go to.
Yeah.
And so that's the virtual side of it. So everybody's happy. Everybody's great. They felt like my support that I gave them early on at home before they left for the hospital, which I would have done anyways, even if I was going in person, was extremely helpful.
That's what I find with the virtual support. I mean, a lot of times, especially when an epidural is already coming into play, like that's just the way it's going to go. And that is many people. I mean, there's like a 90% epidural rate in Toronto. When it's that early step, is this labor? What do I do? What's happening? Should I go to the hospital? All this stuff. It's those questions about, whether to go. And especially now with COVID, you don't want to go too early because you're either not leaving or now you've been in a hospital and now you're coming home and it's like, that whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's
really
why I love it.
Was super important. And then when they went to the hospital, I didn't feel obligated to constantly be calling them because they're at the hospital doing things and speaking to their healthcare people and so on. So my instructions were, if you can, check in with me every couple of hours. That could be a quick text with a smiley face or, a one sentence update. I will be available as much or as little as you need. So, but from here on in, I allowed them to lead how much presence I had.
Yeah.
And they did. They gave me some teeny tiny updates and then some really big long ones. And then we had one video call where we had a discussion about their options around getting a little bit of Pitocin or waiting a little bit. So we had a discussion around that, which was great because it was a video call. And that was it. And then I got a little update saying fully dilated, and then I didn't hear for a long time. And then I said, baby might be here by now. Text me back when it's easy. And then the next one was, baby boy, we're so happy. And then pictures and pictures and pictures. And I'm like, while I'm in bed, this is fucking best. Even though it was 3 a.m., it was okay.
Yeah.
Because I was at home in my bed. Wow. I am sold on this virtual birth support thing. You don't have to convince me anymore. That's it.
Yeah. And really, as I ease into the golden years of my doula-ness, I really love this. And I really think, a lot of times, especially as I say, when epidurals are coming into play, all I'm doing is sitting there. And I think, there's other stuff that can be done. But this old body can't necessarily do that anymore. And I think for me, and we talked about this, one of my greatest strengths as being a doula is that education and that calming and that, making sure that people are, asking the right questions and managing their own labor and whatnot.
Yes.
you know, since I've been a doula, I haven't really been that doula that, you know, people get because they want an unmedicated birth. That hasn't been my niche. And I'm glad, because I don't particularly, I mean, I've had epidurals. I love them. I think they're great.
Mm.
So that has never really been where my strengths have lied anyways with everything. So yeah, I love virtual support. I'm quite happy with it. I wish I had more of it.
I think that it is for people who are chomping at the bit to get back into the hospitals and back into the birthing rooms. That's great if that's where they feel their best efforts lie, and they feel that they can serve their clients best there in person. I think that's fine. But I also want other people who are sort of wondering about how to pivot and how to move towards that it's perfectly okay and it's perfectly possible. I absolutely felt as if I gave my clients what they needed. I feel like they got what they needed.
Mhm.
I think I gave the best of myself within those circumstances, and it worked out well. Sure, there is something, and I know that there is something about having an actual person there, somebody's presence, you know, those extra pair of hands and so on. I think that's that. And I'm wondering about a birth or a labor that's a little bit more difficult, a little bit more fraught with anxiety, a little bit, you know, a few more complications, and how that would work out. Maybe even better. Maybe even better. I don't know. So that's kind of up in the air. I don't know how it would work if things had gone a little bit differently, but they didn't. They worked out really great. And there is also a part of me that feels so proud of them.
Yeah.
There's another piece of it, right?
Yep.
That I don't feel when I'm there in person, like right there in the middle of it and being like all up involved in everything. Even observing doula parameters, you are right up in there with
Yep.
them.
Yeah.
But I feel like they did this. I really and truly feel now, way more than I do when I'm in person, that they did this. They maneuvered this. And I honestly and truly just was there as a cheerleader and as a another voice.
Yep. That phone a friend.
Yes, a little bit of clarity, a little bit of objectivity. And isn't that what we're all supposed to be?
Yeah.
So I think that every doula could be served by doing at least one virtual birth support just to see how that feels and how it goes.
Hmm.
Not going to be for everybody, but it sure is going to be for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, selfishly, I'm like, no, don't try it. I want to be the only one that does virtual support. I want to be that person. But whatever.
But just as there were enough birth
It's just me
clients
being
to go around in
selfish.
person, there's definitely going to be just as many virtual support people too,
That's
because
true.
there are many hospitals that are still not letting second support people in, and many people who are just not comfortable with having
Yes.
that. So yeah, it's out there. It is out there.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's what's been happening. That's what happened with me this week in terms of doula work. So that was great. That's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, our topic today is postpartum. We don't talk a lot about postpartum.
We
Um,
don't. Before we get into our topic, I wanted
mhm.
to shout out an awesome Toronto doula, Marge Wong, who is a listener. And now that we're on YouTube, right? Now that people are actually seeing us, aren't you? Aren't you all watching and listening to us on YouTube?
Six people
Yeah,
are.
6 people.
Six people.
Then you can see my cool earrings that I have here. Oh, wrong side. This side. See, there's like sparkly gold on that side. Sparkly gold on that side. These are like leather earrings. They're super light and they're not heavy at all. And
Right, they're leather.
yes, they're
Oh,
leather.
cool.
And Marge made these.
Nice.
And she also rubbed like lovely smelling essential oils on the back. So
Okay.
actually when I opened my mailbox smelled good. I was like, what's happening here? And it was because of these earrings. And hit up Marge. at Marge_Wong on Instagram, and she can make you some earrings like this too. She's got all shapes and colors and stuff. She's great. She's awesome. Yoga teacher, doula extraordinaire, earring maker. So go look her
There
up.
you
Oh,
go.
she crochets. Very handy. Very handy for this Marge. So
Awesome.
yeah, there you go.
Cool.
Yeah. So what were we? Oh, postpartum. What about it?
So,
Postpartum is after you give birth, if you didn't know.
so I was thinking, I mean, I think one of the things that a doula does, and of course, postpartum workers in COVID can go into people's homes now. That is possible. Um, and do their support. And of course, there's a way to do it safely with, having your own PPE, gloves, masks, all of that stuff. One of the things that we do as a doula is that we kind of help, or that we can do, is that we kind of help the family set up their little nesting cave, their little postpartum recovery cave um, area in their home. And I wonder, I don't personally do it. Families have usually sort of set that up on their own. But what are some things that doulas can do? This is why I hope Stephanie would be here because she does this. Um, that you can do to make the family more comfortable, some advice that you can give to new families, things like that.
So when you say help set up like their own like little nesting cave, give me some examples of what you mean, because I don't think that I do this, but maybe I do because I'm not really sure what you mean.
So I talk about this in my classes that, after you have your baby, you need to pick one spot in your home where you're going to be. Now, if
Yeah,
you live in a multi-level home, you don't want to have your stuff all over the place. Like you don't want to have your bathroom downstairs and then you're hanging out upstairs with baby and then the food is downstairs and then the change table is upstairs. And so it's a matter of picking a spot in the home where the family will be most comfortable,
mm-hmm.
where the birthing parent or the birthed parent
Mm-hmm.
will be most comfortable on a couch, in a bed, um, where they will have, their TV and their iPad and their phone charger and food and drink and blankets and pillows and breastfeeding pillows and baby and all the diapering needs. Because I think families, they set up these, elaborate nurseries and things like that. And they're on like the second level or the third level if you're in like a townhome. It's like, are you really going to be walking up and down those stairs every single time? It's nice in the first couple of weeks to actually just chill in one spot, come down at the beginning of each day, and then go back up at night. And
Yeah,
that's where you're gonna do your rest. Or maybe it is in your bedroom because that's where you are going to get the most rest, and you have your ensuite bathroom if you have that, or things like that. So I think it's important for doulas to get across to their families that, or their clients that, um, this is important and this is very helpful for their recovery.
yes. Okay, so now I know what you mean. So yes, I do talk. I was a little bit thrown off by the idea of a nester, which is a great word. I like it. I always say find somewhere in your house that's going to be your headquarters, your main headquarters, and
Hmm.
that is where you are going to be most of the time with your baby. So you've got to think a little bit of forward thinking or advanced planning can go a long way, because it's hard to see, especially with your first baby. It's hard to imagine what life afterwards is going to be like. Well, actually, I take that back. It's not hard to imagine, because that's all that first time parents do is imagine. And usually their imaginings are so nice and
Yeah,
pretty and
maybe a
romantic
little off base, but so
and,
nice.
and lovely and all of that, when and thinking practically and logistically isn't something that they really do very much. Because I did that with my puppy. I had
Yeah.
visions in my head of what life with a new puppy was going to be like. And there's a part of you that says, yeah, I know it'll be a lot of work and it'll be hard, but oh, they'll be so cute, and oh, we're gonna go for walks, and oh, it's gonna be like this, and it's gonna be like that. And that stuff is all true, but we need to spend some more time on the stuff that you're sort of pushing away. So logistically, how's it gonna work?
Yeah.
Where is going to be your, it doesn't make sense to have you here and the changing stuff here. You spend all this time on this beautiful nursery, and you know what, most people are not spending all much time in that nursery.
Babies don't usually get in there for like 6 months.
Yeah, your baby's probably going to be sleeping beside you and in a bassinet beside your bed, and your stuff is not in the nursery.
Nope.
So something that I have encouraged my clients to do, if they are at this stage in pregnancy where they are thinking about the nursery, and they hate this idea, make the nursery your room. I don't mean your room where you sleep, but make it so that it is comfortable for you. Otherwise, it's really going to be a nicely, beautifully decorated room that nobody really goes in,
Yep.
more than, you know, maybe once a day or so to grab something or do something. You're not going to use it. If you want to get as much use out of that nursery as possible, and you can always shift things out afterwards. You can always do that. It
Yeah.
is absolutely fine to have a little day bed in there, or like one of those fancy, a chaise. Is that what
Chaise
it's called?
lounge.
One of those, yeah, that you can lie down on, or a really comfy chair, your books, maybe even a mini fridge. Put a TV in the nursery. I don't know.
Sure.
Imagine that you're going to be spending a lot of time in that nursery. So make it for you.
Yep.
And the baby just tags along with you.
I had a client that did that actually. They had their master bedroom, but her, as you say, the headquarters was actually in there. I mean, they ventured downstairs, periodically, but where this birthing parent spent the majority of the day in the first few days, first week or so, was in that room. And they had, the crib was there, which was, right beside a day bed, as you say.
Yeah.
They had a rocking chair, they had the nursing pillow, they had the diaper station and everything. And when people came in to visit, they had another chair there for somebody to sit.
Yeah.
And when I came to visit them for their postpartum visits, that's where we went. And it was great too, because I think because that was where they were going to be spending most of their time, that was where we did the breastfeeding support. So that it was in that same room, with that same chair, with that same pillow, in that same environment. And sometimes when you're trying to breastfeed, you teach in one room, like down in the living room, because but that isn't where you're going to spend most of your time. And when you get upstairs, it's a different chair, it's a different
Yeah.
angle,
You
it's
can't
different.
translate what you learned downstairs
Yeah.
upstairs.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's nice to sort of have that. And as I say, they had a chair for me to sit on. They had that like the first day, but then I think I was just sitting on the bed the next time. But the bathroom was right there, just down the hall. Their room was the next room down by the hall. So it was really nice, and it was dimly lit.
Yeah.
So baby was sleeping well and they could sleep well. And it was just really nice, sort of cozy little area for them to be. And the partner they didn't have food or fridge or anything like that, but the partner would bring, food and drink and all that stuff up to her when it was needed. So I think that's sort of what you want to try and create. Now, obviously, especially in Toronto, not everybody has an entirely separate room that they can use, but you can make it a corner of your condo or whatever. Maybe you live in a one bedroom or one room condo loft kind of thing. You just want to try and create that, or at least put into your clients' minds that this is something that will be beneficial for their recovery, because we got to be comfortable, right?
Yes.
Because if we're not, then we're not recovering the way we need to.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if it's one side of the couch in your
Yeah.
condo, one side of the couch with everything close by, that's fine too. Just look around at your specific living circumstances and decide, where am I most likely to be comfortable in spending most of my time, and set stuff up there.
Yep.
I mean, So this sounds like this would be a really beneficial episode for expectant parents to listen to. But
Yes.
this is, but doulas who are listening can. This is the kind of stuff you want to share with your clients also.
And maybe that's part of the planning that you do. Like if you're having 2 or 3, prenatal visits, maybe you're setting aside one of those visits or discussions to be about, so what's your postpartum going to look like? Yeah, you plan for the birth and, you know, prenatal 1 and 2, but let's just have a quick discussion now that baby is almost here. Let's
Yeah.
have a quick discussion about what that's going to look like for you.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
admittedly, I've never done that. But I've certainly gone to, I had one family that I went to see, um, and this was a couple weeks in. So I had seen them before when they were sort of spending time upstairs, and it was a very narrow not condo,
Uh-huh.
townhouse. So the idea of going there kind of freaked me out because it was such breakneck 90-degree stairs. Um, but when I got there in for like the second visit, um, we were downstairs. This is where we were, and it was only like the second week, maybe end of the first week. And baby it was time for baby to feed. So we were downstairs where she was kind of watching TV and things like that. And then we went upstairs to feed. And I go, "Do you do this every time that baby is going to feed?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay. You don't have to. You can feed right here.
Yeah.
You don't have to go away."
Yeah.
So the next time we fed downstairs so that we could, you know,
Hmm.
and then I was there long enough for baby to need to be changed. And I go, "Are you going back upstairs to change baby?
You know the diapers are portable.
You don't
They
have
can
stuff
move.
down here?" And I looked over and there was the diaper bag. I'm like, "Oh, we can just use this stuff." And she looked at me like I had, you know,
Two
told her
heads.
to jump off a cliff. And it's like, well, no, like, we can do this right here. You have a mat, right? Let's just do it here.
Yeah.
Don't be walking up and down those stairs all the time, like literally 30 stairs
Yes.
straight up. I mean,
Yes.
plus I didn't want to go up those stairs again. Wasn't sure my ass could have handled it.
I mean, I remember, and I draw on my own experiences when I had my own babies. I when I had my last baby, and I had a 15-month-old also at the time. And so my habit is to always have the baby sleep with me. And so that was easy. So the baby would slept with me. But I also had this 15-month-old toddler who was also still nursing. And she previously was sleeping with us
Right.
before. So what we did before the baby was born is we got a queen size bed, and put it in her room, and me and her and the newborn slept on that bed. That's what we did, because there was no way there was no. Also we had a water bed, and I wasn't
Oh,
gonna sleep on
damn.
a bed with a king size water bed.
Yeah,
And
no, that
so
that is highly dangerous and not
that's
recommended.
dangerous. So no, you don't do that. So I wasn't about to do that. Actually, the toddler wasn't sleeping in the waterbed with us. I was sleeping with her. Oh, it was just, listen, my life was, I don't even know how I got through all of that. But that queen size bed was in the toddler's room, and it came in very handy when I gave birth to the fifth baby, because we just stayed in that room, and that's where the change table was. That's where all of her stuff, my toddler's stuff, was. That was where the new baby stuff was. And one little small thing that was indispensable at this time was a touch lamp. I've
Oh,
You can find one on Amazon or wherever. Get yourself a touch lamp. Tell your clients. Those ones where you just reach over and touch it, and the light comes on. You touch it again, it gets a little bit brighter. The brightness increases, and then when you touch it, it goes down in intensity also. Perfect for nursing in the middle of the night. And so looking at your life, so that was my 5th baby, and figuring out how logistically it's all going to work. That's what you have to do. Walk through your house, make a plan, draw it out on a map even. How are you going to sleep? How are you going to eat? How are you going to do all of those things in as easy a way as possible? Hey, when my daughter-in-law was on bed rest, she had a cooler by her bed all the time that we would just stock up with food all the time. She was able to get up enough to warm up food in the microwave, like a couple of times a day, but mostly she had food in the cooler,
That's
sandwiches,
good.
fruit, salads, yogurt, applesauce, like that kind of stuff, juice boxes, whatever, things that can fit in the cooler that you can just reach. And if your client has had a C-section, that's even more important.
Yeah, because movement is going to be a little difficult, especially in the first couple of days.
Yeah. Or if your client is on bed rest,
Yeah.
there you go. That's another thing. So helping your clients lay out a postpartum plan in terms of their physical recovery and their emotional recovery, super important. And that little nest headquarters, yeah, pillows, blankets. If
Mhm.
you can't sleep during the day, if your client is somebody who, because people say this all the time, can't sleep during the day, it's too bright. One of the things you want to invest in then, if you can, blackout curtains.
Mhm.
Put some blackout curtains up. So look at your environment in your bedroom. If your bedroom is going to be where your headquarters are, how can you make it darker if darkness is what you need to sleep? How can you make it cooler or warmer, more comfortable for you to sleep for an hour at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Because that around the clock sleeping is really imperative.
Yeah. I mean, we still have, all the bedrooms have really dark, dark navy IKEA curtains,
Mhm.
and they shut out a lot of light. Um, we just redid Allie's room and she wants different curtains
Yes, you
because
did.
I did. I redid
You
a
did.
hardwood floor
Yeah. And the walls.
and the walls. I painted for the first time in my life at the age of 50. Um, which was more daunting than the actual floor itself. Painting a room was way more work than actually redoing the floor.
Mhm.
Stupid.
Mhm.
But yeah, so she wants different curtains, and it's like, oh, it's not going to be dark. But they don't match her room anymore anyway, so we'll do that. But I love my dark, dark navy, thick blackout curtains. They're the best.
Well, they don't even have to be. If navy is too dark for your decor, blackout curtains come in all colors now.
Yeah, yeah, you just need something thick that isn't going to let the lights through.
Or has that because my son has blackout curtains, and so does my daughter, and they're not even thick, and they're light gray, and I forget what color she has, but they've got something on the back on the other side that doesn't let light in. So
Right.
close them up. My room is super bright all the time, and
Yes.
I do want blackout curtains, but I think that I want shades. Are there such a thing as blackout shades? That's what I want. Um, Not that I care, because I can sleep in the bright daytime, so that doesn't bother me. I don't need that. But yes, if you there's so many options now: blackout curtains, blackout shades, you with all different colors, materials, and whatever. If that's what you need, do it. You need a fan in your room because you want the air and you want the humming noise, do it.
Oh, I
Whatever
love my
you do.
fan. I
Yeah,
have
me too.
central air and a fan.
Hello, central air, fan, and an open window. Hello, menopause.
Hello, menopause.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So whatever it is to make your sleeping environment comfy, that's what they need. That's what you
Yeah,
need to go through with them. How are they going to sleep really well? How are they going to take care of the baby easily? How are they going to feed themselves easily? Make everything as easy as possible.
absolutely.
So that's how you prepare that postpartum nest.
Are there
Uh,
any other postpartum tips that you offer to offer clients?
I suggest to people, if they can afford it, to hire somebody to come clean.
Mm, yeah.
If you can afford, before the baby comes, like that week before you're due, get a deep clean done. You will
Oh,
feel
that's a good
so
idea.
much better. Yes. And arrange, if you can afford this, okay? I understand that this is a money suggestion, but if you can afford it, have somebody come in once a week to do the floors or bathrooms or whatever. Do that, or somebody to come do laundry or whatever, just to
take some of the load off.
Yeah, take some of the load off. So that's what I suggest. And one of the things to invest in when you are pregnant, I know everybody's researching cribs and strollers. Do you have a deep freeze? Do you have a deep freeze, not just a freezer in your house, but like in the top of your fridge, but like a freezer that you can freeze meals in for yourself? Start cooking double batches of everything and freezing meals in 2-person servings or however many people in your household, and stash that away. Let me tell you what a joy it is to know that all you got to do is pull out a little lasagna out of your freezer.
Yep.
And then just warm it up for dinner. Oh my God.
Yep.
So that's that's an appliance that people don't think about. They don't think that's, they only think baby stuff, but they're not thinking your whole family and your whole household is changing. So what do you need to make that transition time easier? And a chest freezer, let me tell you, stock up all the things. You can put bread in the freezer. You can put frozen fruit in the freezer, all kinds of things that for smoothies, which are great for postpartum, all that stuff you can put in the freezer besides meals. Yeah, so that's what I suggest to people too.
Cool.
Yeah.
I had one when I had one client, we went grocery shopping together. So we did the grocery shop for the first time. She took baby and went grocery shopping, and she was pulling in to like the closest spot to the door. And I said, you might want to park over here next to the cart return. Because when you've put baby in and you have to return your cart, you're going to have to walk all the way back that way and leave the baby in the car over here.
Yes.
Maybe we switch that up a little bit. So she was like, oh my God, that's such a good idea. I'm like, well,
so
yeah.
That again is something that you don't know until you actually do it. Till you go there. So those are the kind of tips you give people based on your own experience. That's exactly how it goes. Oh, that's a good one. That's definitely a good one. Yeah. And I mean, if you have people in your life who you know are willing to help.
Yes.
You know that they're willing to help.
And they're in your bubble.
Sign them up. Oh yeah, and they're in your bubble. Sign them up. Don't just say, when people say, oh my gosh, call me if you need some help. So that's another thing that people do. People do that all the time. They say to somebody, let me know if you need any help. Nobody takes that offer.
No.
Make a specific offer if you're that person.
Yeah.
Can I drop dinner off for you guys next Tuesday?
Yeah.
Can I drop by between 3 and 5 and do some laundry for you? Make a specific offer. People are more likely to say yes to that than if you just say, call me if you need any help.
Yeah, and then the birthing parent who's sitting there completely overwhelmed with the crying baby surrounded by laundry, and they just don't feel like there's an end in sight. The first thing they're doing is not picking up the phone.
Right. So if people make a specific offer, or if the birthing parents make a specific ask, this is what people need to cultivate this. Now you're going to have a baby. Now you're going to have a family. You need to utilize that village. We all give that lip service that it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to sustain a family, not just raise a child, but to sustain a family. And so before the baby comes, I encourage people to sit down. Not everybody has support people in their life.
Right. Well, especially now with COVID and families not being able to travel to help out. I mean,
yes.
There's many people
around you.
Yeah. Who can help you now?
What can they do? One of the things that I did that was the most helpful when I have clients who have babies in the beautiful time of year.
So not winter?
Like all of the times that my babies were born, Don't have any. Nobody should give birth after Halloween. That's all. Plain and simple. Don't have babies. Birth should shut down between November 1st and, okay, let's say April 1st. Let's be generous.
Oh, great. I had two of my babies in that dead zone.
I had all of my babies in that dead zone. So
And
I
the
know
third one was in the middle of a fucking heat wave with no
I
central air.
exactly what it it feels like when you can't go out. Can't go out, can't take the
Yeah.
baby out because the weather is horrible and it's too scary. It's not even maybe a bright, sunshiny day, but the sidewalks are so icy that you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the things that I've done that doulas can offer for their postpartum clients is if the weather is nice, is to take the baby for a walk.
Yeah.
The baby for a walk, so the birthing parents can sleep or
I
shower
love doing that.
or whatever
Yeah.
without constantly looking over at the baby.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and it's nice. It's nice. Love doing that too, getting the baby all set up in the stroller and literally just walking around, even if it's just an hour. And I get my steps in, baby gets a little
It's a
bit.
selfish reason.
It's a win-win for everybody. Take the baby out for a walk. If your clients are comfortable with that, not
Yeah.
all clients are comfortable with. But I find, especially if you've been the birth doula and you've been their prenatal instructor, by then they trust you with everything.
Yeah.
So it's fine. So, yeah.
I had a client once, I went to their home and the baby was born at the mid-March, on my birthday, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like maybe 2 weeks in, and it was sort of beginning of April, but it was really like, it was a really shitty year, not as shitty as 2020, but it was a very weather-wise not a great year.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very dark and dank and wet and cold, and it wasn't a nice April.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to the home and I couldn't, I was doing postpartum support for them. So we had gotten into this where I was just walking in. I was knock, 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 and then walking in. And I couldn't find the birthing parent. And then I eventually found her
Mm-hmm.
in the back of the house, sitting in the dark with the curtains drawn, and the baby was upstairs. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. You are
Yeah.
not in a good place right now. When was the last? And this had been, I think I was only seeing them once a week, I think, for this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, when was the last time you were outside? And
Mm-hmm.
she looked at me like I had suggested she jump off a bridge. It's like, no, like when have you? And it was still gray, like, but I mean, there was light outside.
Yes.
I'm like, well, I'm going to go check on baby. When we come back, we're going to go for a walk. And
Yeah.
again, this like perplexed look of, what the fuck are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yes.
So I went and got baby, got her changed, got her diaper changed. She was fine. Like, she was perfect. Mom had not been neglecting baby at all, but she was absolutely neglecting herself.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And I strapped that baby to her. We pulled out the wrap. Because she's like getting the stroller around. I'm like, oh shit, we're gonna wrap that baby around you and put your coat on. We're zip it up, and we're just gonna walk up the street, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
We started to walk up the street, and then we actually made the corners and did the whole block. And when it was over, she was like, so can we do this again tomorrow? I'm like,
Yes.
yes, we can. We
It was
absolutely can.
medicine.
It was like, that's just it. When you're getting to a family's home and you're seeing that, something's not right here. This is
Yeah.
not the way it should be.
Yeah.
Let's change it up and let's see what happens. And it was clear that she was suffering. She ended up, I think, being diagnosed with postpartum depression. But that step, I think, got to the point where it could clear her brain enough and have that conversation with her partner that we need to fix something. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I
Yeah.
mean, those are the little things that a postpartum doula can do when they're seeing these things. Because when you're the family and you're in it, you're basically treading water. Like, you can't see what's really happening around you. You're just trying to survive half the time, especially when we're talking about postpartum depression. But when a doula comes in and sees and goes, okay, we need to fix some things up here. We need to XYZ, you know, and it comes from those initial talking to them, right?
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
It's not a matter of you coming in and being like, okay, we're gonna do this. Let's have a conversation.
you
Let's
need
do
to
that
talk.
listening,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. When you
Listening to
know people,
understand, not listening to respond.
right. I had a client, maybe a couple of years ago, I suppose, very active.
Hmm.
This couple, these people climbed mountains and kayaked and
Oh, so not people I would know.
no. Um, so that's the kind of lifestyle that they led. After when the baby was born, and it was winter. Also, the birthing parent came from sorry, I just heard my front door close. So it's my
Okay, that's your boobs.
oh.
I'm gonna have to make this an X-rated video on YouTube now.
It's my daughter with her fancy social life going out at 1:45. I don't know, maybe she's a lunch date, whatever. Anyway, so
Again,
my
I can't
client,
relate.
me neither. My client had come from a warm country, right? So she was used to
Shit.
being able to go outside whenever, like she grew up on the beach.
Oh,
And
I
this was
hate her already.
oh, she was so lovely. And this was her first Canadian winter.
Oh shit.
And she was spending it like inside the house with a baby. And they had a
No.
dog who was very, very active. So they had a dog walker come to get the dog every day to walk the dog. And I could see that she was teetering on the edge of insanity. And then one day I said, well, why don't you walk the dog today? It was cold outside, but the sidewalks were clear and it was sunny. And then she said, really? Could I do that?
Of
And
course
then I
you can
said,
do that.
just go for a short walk, okay? I'm not saying go do like one of the marathon hill climbing walks that you normally do. I'm saying a little walk. It says my internet connection is unstable. How am I sounding? Am I
You sound
okay?
okay. You're still good.
Tell me if I'm sounding weird and I'll turn off my video or something. So I said, yeah, so not too far because, you just gave birth and I don't want you doing too much. And she said, okay, no problem. She got the dog. She didn't come back for an hour and a half.
Oh shit.
Yes. She didn't come back. And I said, that was a little longer than I meant. And she said, but when she came back, she said, I can't even begin to tell you how that exercise, fresh air, and sunshine has made me feel like whatever happens the rest of this day, I got it.
Yep.
And I was like,
Nature is medicine.
I said, yes, that a walk is medicine. So don't be afraid to suggest that. So sleep, eating, movement, fresh air, and sunshine. Those are like ordinary components of health.
Yes.
And when you see people faltering, especially new parents, it is almost always because they're really neglecting one or
The
two or more.
basics.
Yes. The absolute basics. I say to my people in my class, reduce life down to its bare necessities.
Yep.
Right down to its bare necessities. And it is hard for me. I mean, I was born in the Caribbean and I don't even like the heat, but I really do suffer when
You're like a really odd Jamaican. You know that, right?
I'm very odd Jamaican. Also, I'm on time everywhere I go. But what really gets to me is the lack of sunshine in this country. And the older I get, the worse it gets. And I start to feel that downward spiral of mood and just physical comfort. Starting in November now, I start to feel it because by November, things are really gray. And she had left her sunny country, as an adult, and then gave birth in December.
Oh shit.
Like right at the winter. It was like close to the winter solstice. It was close to Christmas time when she had her baby. So she was feeling very, very low. And I said, I know it's cold and a lot of the days it's gray, but we still have outside.
Yeah.
Still have fresh
People in
air.
Iceland give birth all the time.
So whatever you can grab on and take an advantage of, do it. If it's outside, if it's fresh air, those few days of sunshine that we do get in the dark times of the year, you got to dive into those and make sure, open your windows and sit in front of the window, whatever you need to do. So you suggest those things to your client too. It isn't always just about, sits, baths, and breast pumps.
Yeah.
About the basics, real life basics.
Yep. And I think that's it. I mean, I think sometimes and I think sometimes as doulas, we do this too. I think sometimes we try to overcomplicate things. You have to
Yep.
have this product, you have to do this, and you have to, XYZ and have this essential oil and this aromatherapy and this
Yep.
and it's not always as complicated as that. It's sometimes just as complicated as putting food in your body,
Yep.
putting water in your body,
Yeah.
moving that body, and giving it some sunlight and fresh air.
Yeah. And go to
Period.
sleep.
And
I mean,
sleep.
or sometimes that's what you do. I've had a lot of clients where I walk in the door and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. Baby's in the bassinet. See you in 3 hours."
Yep.
3 hours sleep is the new 8 hours sleep
Yep.
when you're 10 days postpartum.
Yeah.
And you would be, I'm always love it that after like a 3 hour sleep, and when your clients really trust you, they can sleep.
Yeah.
Sometimes those first couple of visits, they have a hard time falling asleep. But
Yep.
I love it when like it's been 3 hours and I have to wake them up.
You're like, because I got to go home now.
Yeah. And I said, "Did you sleep? Do you feel?" And they're like, "Oh my God, that felt like I slept all night." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's it. That's that new parent 3 hour. 3 hours seems to be the new, like, fill your cup sleep
Yep.
time." So
Yep.
really focus on the basics with people and listen to what they're saying and what their needs are. And it will be different. A single parent who's parenting by themselves will have different needs than somebody who's
Yes.
got a partner and a mother and a mother-in-law helping out and all of that. So
And that's really, again, I mean, this is really part of for a birth doula, it's part of the prenatals. And for a postpartum doula, it's, hopefully you can have these conversations with them before baby is born, but sometimes that isn't always the case. It's a matter of, shit, we had the baby and now we can't cope. What do we do? But it's a matter of going in, and that first initial visit is sitting down and saying, okay, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your birth. Let's talk about what you need.
mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, well that's my whole arsenal of postpartum support stuff.
Yeah, I'm not big into postpartum, to be quite honest. Um, I prefer birth, but I think I've certainly done enough to have the odd tip.
I just
I wanted to, I
give us
did want to mention, I mean, we're going to have another short episode, but that's okay. You love us anyways.
next week we'll give you a full blown hour and a half. Don't worry.
Absolutely.
Don't
But
be greedy.
I
We've
did
given
want to
you,
say, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna just say, don't be greedy. We've given you a lot.
Yeah, fuck, man. Give us a break. You're lucky we're still here. Um,
I'm amazed we're still here.
but so before I get to the birth story, which I've only read the first little bit, but I wanted to say, so this week I've been attending the virtual Kappa conference, so kappa.net. They are having their conference and it's virtual, and you can still sign up for it. I think you can still, because all the recordings are pre-recorded. And if you are a Kappa member, it's free, and then the optional sessions are not that much money. I think I spent a couple $100s for everything. But I've listened to, there's 14 hours of workshops to listen to. So there are 14 different workshops to listen to. I think I've got 4 under my belt, because the week I had it all planned out to get them all done in a week, but then, life. Um, and I've been really, really impressed. So I'm going to try and get Jody Corden, I'm going to try and get her as a guest. She said she's going to do it. It was all about business.
Ooh.
Yeah, which was really cool. And I wanted to give a shout out, and I think everybody should follow her on Instagram, Dr. K. Let's see. Nope, not followers, following. Uh, can I search this?
K. K.
Dr. Oh, Dr. G speaks. Her name is Kristen Gilroy, Guillory, Guillory.
So what's her
And
Instagram? Is there her Instagram handle you're telling
is
us about?
her Instagram handle is DRG Speaks, Speaks, and her name is Kristen Gilroy, PhD.
Oh, got it. Yes.
So she gave a talk on what do you say, self-care,
Yeah.
and she was incredible. And the good news is that because I've heard her speak, when I'm looking at her Instagram, I can hear her voice as she says it. She's quite
Gorgeous,
lyric.
first of all.
Yeah, she's beautiful, and she's quite lyrical in the way she speaks. So she's quite amazing to listen to. But she gave a really good speech on a really good workshop on self-care, and I really enjoyed it actually quite a bit. So she's got some really good. Um, she talks, her Instagram is really, about, doing for you and whatnot, and not worrying about what the hell other people think. And I think she was quite good. So if you,
And
I've
she's from Texas. Does she have a Texas accent?
no, she doesn't actually.
Darn it.
So yeah, so she started, in fact, usually when you start these sort of virtual workshops, you start to, hi, my name is blah blah blah, and I'm here to talk about blah blah blah. Well, she came on rapping a Montel Jordan song, like just instantly, didn't even say hello or who she was. I'm like, what the fuck am I listening to? And then it was like,
This is how we do it.
yeah, like it was crazy. So um but yeah, it was really fun, and it really gave me some things to ponder. And I think one of the great, which I have been using the last 2 days, is changing the way I phrase things. Not, I have to do XYZ, I have to go get the
Yeah.
kids, I have to take my kid to work, blah blah blah. It's, I get to take
Get
my
to.
kid to work, right? um and that's been, I get to get up now.
Make it a gift
Yeah,
instead of a burden.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's been very helpful for me this week, because this has been a very overwhelming week, where, if we didn't have this whole virtual thing, probably would be in jail right now. Yeah. So, but thank
I
God
am
for
I'm glad, I'm grateful that you are not incarcerated. I feel
thank you. I told you I'll tell you what all the passwords are. I'll give you step-by-step instructions on how to record.
Oh my God. So yeah, I'm glad and you know what? I'm glad that the conference sessions are available, because I intended to sign up for this, but I got my dates wrong, and then all of a sudden it was here.
Yeah. Well, I think you can still sign up for them.
Well, then I need to get on it and do that, because I
Because as
need,
I say, they're pre-recorded, so there
yeah,
are some live Q&As. I haven't really been doing those, but I have really, really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the business one, with Jody. It was very. I mean, it lit a fire under my ass. I've been talking about it all week. Shh, it's a surprise. Um, um, so it was really good. And what was the one? There was one on public health and breastfeeding, but it was from somebody in Florida, so it kind of didn't really pertain too much
yeah.
to Canada per se. But the next one I'm going to listen to is about supporting the LGBTQ family, and clients, and I'm quite anxious to listen to that one. So yeah, I'll be able to report back on those. But yes,
I'm looking at the Instagraphic that Dr. G Speaks has right now. That immediate, like I just opened it up, and I'm going to. I love this infographic. I feel like I want to regram it. If you are overwhelmed, try these 3-minute self-care tips. And
Yes.
then it has like these different things to do. And yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much for reminding me of that, because I had kind of put it out of my head. Oh, I missed it. So too bad. But I'm glad I have not actually missed it. I can still,
Yeah,
I
I'm
can
pretty
still
sure you
come
can
on and
still.
take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's been really good. I've enjoyed it. And you know what? And I think one of the things with doing this virtually is I can watch it whenever I like.
Yeah.
Um, and B, I've been able to sort of connect with people on this particular app that they're using, from all over the world. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not just, the Americans are coming and then they're having their conference and you got to travel to, this year it was going to be actually in San Antonio. You have to travel to San Antonio. It's that, there are people from Israel, there are people from, all over the world. I think there's even a Korean group, actually, to be quite honest, which is quite amazing. So it's been really cool to sort of grab together doulas from all over the world, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can check it out, I'm pretty sure the stuff is going to be at least up there for the month. And I'm hoping I still have access to it beyond that. But check out their website, kappa.net, and that will help sort of get you going. And you don't have to buy them all. I did buy them all because I need the CEUs. But yeah, it's cool. All right. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you for letting me spout that off. So I'm going to read, if I can put this up here so I can actually not look like an idiot when I'm, okay. So I'm going to read a birth story, and this is from the person that we gave a shout out to last week, Mara Fitzinger, who gave us a really good review. So that's who it was when we were like, baby shark, huh? I don't know what that means. All right, so let me make the font bigger so I can read it. All right. Okay, so it says, my favorite pragmatic doulas. I've been listening to your podcast for about a year now and was ridiculously excited to hear Kim read my review on last week's episode. Don't get excited about us. We're not that great.
Hey,
Um,
take it. We love that you're excited.
I had to call my husband at work and tell him, LOL.
Oh,
That's
that's
how excited.
excited. That's excited.
Well, call him now because we're
Oh,
reading your story.
Yep. Now you're for sure famous.
Famous to 100 other doulas around the world that will listen to this. All right. Anyway, I've been meaning to write in with my birth story and hope others will follow my lead, as I miss hearing them at the end of each episode. Right? I mean, we ran out of babies. We don't have any
Long
more to
time
give
ago.
you.
We only have 12. We thought that was a lot, but apparently it
Apparently,
only
you guys
lasted
wanted
12
more
weeks.
episodes than 12. All right. So my daughter is 2 years now, 2 years and a few months old now, and this is her birth story. I basically loved being pregnant. I had an easy, healthy pregnancy overall, despite the usual nausea, swollen feet, and excruciating lightning crotch. Sounds like Stephanie. And at 8 months pregnant, I truly felt big and beautiful. Prior to those last 3 weeks of pregnancy, I'd get sad thinking of how strange it will feel once my baby is no longer right there inside me. Well, my due date came and went. I was no longer so happily pregnant and really wanted my baby to come. Being overdue started to make me nervous. And even though I knew it was normal for a first time mom, but I had been determined to have a home birth my whole life. And I knew that if I went over 42 weeks, there would be a mandatory ultrasound, and I feared that would lead to a cascade of interventions. My water broke as I sat down on the toilet late one Sunday night at 41 weeks in one day. For the longest time, I just sat there shouting to my husband that maybe my water broke, or maybe I was just constantly peeing myself. After the excitement of realizing that, yes, it was in fact my water breaking, my husband and I went to bed, like sensible people should.
Mhm.
In the morning, he took me to a steak breakfast to load up on protein for the work ahead. I'm getting nauseous just thinking about that. But I couldn't eat any of it. Contractions progressed throughout the day, and I stayed active. And by the time my midwife arrived late that afternoon, I was 4 to 5 centimeters and coping well. My midwife mostly sat back and allowed us to do our thing, which included walking to the park, sitting on the birth ball, walking 15 blocks to eat Subway. 15 blocks.
Oh my God.
My God. While 4 to 5 centimeters and in labor. Damn, girl.
Yep.
Um, and even some squats and lunges as I tried to prod on my contractions. My warm, inviting birth pool was filled and just sitting there as my midwife advised that I should hold off on getting in until my contractions were more firmly established. They had been happening throughout the whole day, moving closer to that 2 to 3 minute apart mark. And they were strong, but they were only lasting 45 seconds on average. We watched a movie and tried some manual nipple stimulation, but by late that night, I had only progressed 1 more centimeter to 6. My midwife told me that since my water had been broken for a while now, if I wasn't in the throes of labor by noon the next day, we would have to transfer to hospital. Oh, that's pressure.
Yes.
She told us to get some sleep and left to do the same. Having to give birth in the hospital was the only thing I had ever feared about giving birth, but I did my best to work it over in my mind and find some acceptance since we would likely have to transfer. That didn't end up happening. Instead, my contractions intensified as I slept, and by 5 a.m., they were so intense I couldn't stand to lie in bed. I got up and moved about the house, trying to find a position that would relieve my discomfort. At this point, I was really in a daze. I felt out of control with each surge. I had completely lost my ability to breathe through the contractions like I had the day before. Even though my husband was right there with me and attentive, I felt like I was struggling alone in this bubble of craziness. You know that feeling, right? That where you're just kind of there and you can't feel the
Yeah.
periphery of people around you. Finally, I just had to get in the pool. Permission be damned. Good job. And despite the immense relief that it offered, I started to say, I can't do this. When my husband relayed this to the midwife, she knew she needed to get back to me quick. Time and events beyond this are somewhat fuzzy. The midwife arrived and I was barely aware of her as she set up her equipment. At one point, she told me to sink into the pain of the contraction rather than bucking away from it, and that really helped to get me back on track. I have no concept of how long I was in the pool before I told her that I felt like I needed to push. At first, I tried to push on reclining on my back in the pool, but that was ineffective and frustrating. Then I flipped over onto my knees and leaned over the side of the pool, gripping both my husband's hands so that I could pull on him as I pushed. After some time, I had lost that strong push urge, and each contraction seemed to blend into the next so that I was only guessing when the next one started. I wish I had told my midwife this, or I'd known to give myself some time to see if my uterus would do more of the pushing for me. But instead, I felt that since I had started, I ought to literally just push through it. My husband and midwife helped guide my pushing by counting to 10, and eventually I was able to reach down and feel her head. As she crowned, my midwife asked me to slow my pushing, which I did until the point where I could feel that one more strong push would have her out, at which point I just gave it my all, which I'm sure is what caused my minor tearing. The plan had been for my husband to catch our daughter, but when the time came, he sensed I needed him right there where he was, and I was still gripping both of his hands with all my might. So instead, my midwife had her hands there behind me, ready to catch her. To everyone's surprise, my daughter somehow corkscrewed her way out and shot up in front between my legs. So I was so stunned it took me a few seconds to pick her up out of the water. I held her onto my chest and examined her in awe. She was pale with big dark blue eyes, a good amount of hair, and she didn't cry, but she looked at the world around her so alert. I didn't realize that there was anything to be concerned about, but my midwife gently took her from me and cleared her airway and then gave her back. She took care of her so promptly and without a hint of alarm that I never really felt any fear, just a momentary question of, is she okay? The next thing of concern was that I was bleeding a lot. The pool had turned dark with my blood. My birth team helped me to walk to my bedroom as I held my daughter and she laid on my chest as I got a shot of Pitocin in the leg and was stitched up. I remember thinking at the time that she didn't have that sweet baby smell people talk about, but instead smelt like a sea creature from the deep. Um, I know that smell. That's the smell of birth. Um, it made me love her even more, and I will always remember it in the vague way that one recalls sense. My daughter was great at nursing with minimal adjustment, but my milk didn't come in for 5 to 6 days. Those were some of the hardest days and nights of my life, as I nursed around the clock, still watching her weight drop and seeing her fussy at the breast. That was no longer filling her tummy. I held out hoping my milk would arrive before I had to supplement. Thankfully, with the support of my awesome midwife and husband, we got through it, and my daughter quickly packed on the ounces and that she had lost, and then some. I feel like I basically had the birth that I wanted, though it was longer and harder than I expected. I'd pushed
Mhm.
I had pushed for roughly an hour and 20 minutes, and my daughter was born almost 37 hours after my water broke. My husband had been nonstop supportive throughout my pregnancy and labor, and my midwife was so cool and competent and is someone I cherish. But if I experience labor again, I will be adding a doula to my birth team. I didn't realize until later that a doula just fills in those little gaps and can give you some of the emotional, physical support you didn't anticipate needing. Having a doula there with me throughout transition would have helped me recapture my rhythm and may have helped me tune into my body more once I lost the urge to push, and I may have allowed myself more time to rest. These thoughts were forefront in my mind as I took my own doula training last October, and my burgeoning interest in doula work led me to discover your wonderful podcast. So now we've come full circle. Sorry this was so long. Looking forward to hearing my birth story on a future episode. It'll be surreal. Well, there you go, Mara. Surreal it up.
Exactly.
That was a
Where's she
beautiful
from?
story and
It
very
was
well said.
lovely.
Where is she from?
Excellently
In the
written.
States somewhere. I don't know where. Maybe she can send us a message and tell us where.
Okay. Yeah.
So there you go. Thank you very much,
Thank
Mara
you, Mara.
Fitzinger.
Aw.
You are amazing, and it sounds like a really good story, and I'm really glad that everything turned out well.
I wish we had
Um,
something to send people as like incentive. Something small that doesn't cost us
that doesn't cost us any
a
money because
million
we're not making
money.
any money at this.
I
How
mean,
about
like,
how about our love and gratitude?
yeah, how about that? Maybe there's something we can craft and make.
Oh, you're so cute. What are you gonna do? Because
I
it
just
ain't
want to show
fucking gonna
our
be me.
gratitude at some, besides, because really we're not offering fame,
Oh
unfortunately.
no, we have no fame ourselves to give. So
Our our fame cup is not overflowing so that we can
no.
share with you. It's
I mean,
not.
before COVID, we were hitting like 200 people a week. Now it's 100 people a week. So, tell your friends.
Tell your friends, tell your enemies,
Tell
whatever.
everybody. If you're on a web if somebody on a message board says, "Hey, does anybody have any podcasts that they listen to?" Shoot us up.
Mhm. Perfect.
All right. But we
Perfect.
love you. Thank you so much for sending that in, and we really, really appreciate it. And yeah, if anybody wants, we haven't been asking for them because nobody was sending
We
them.
just
But
figured that we stopped asking. We were asking and asking and asking and asking, and nobody was helping to
no.
sending. So,
So yeah, if you want to send it, we'd love to have them. And
yeah.
next week, as we said, um, it will be book club. And if you want to be part of book club, please send us an email at thepragmaticdoulas@gmail.com, and I will send you the link to
Yeah.
the Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
And just keep in mind, though, it will go on YouTube, so make sure your background doesn't have any nudity
You do
or,
need to like wear a shirt. I
yeah,
don't care
you
what's
don't
on.
have to wear pants, but
You don't have to wear anything below the waist, but you do need to wear a shirt. Take your your porny pictures off the wall.
yep,
Yep. And
yep.
all of those kinds of things. And come on, you do need to have
And
read
I
the.
will put on like fresh makeup instead of this old stuff from Wednesday that I haven't washed my face
I'll
about
put
yet.
away like dogs sleeping that are piled up there
I
because I
or
washed them.
I'm kind of excited. I ordered some stuff from one of the Kappa exhibitors, which is like flags that you can loop,
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
on and they can have like birth sayings and stuff on them. So I'm going to redo this wall behind me for my classes. Sorry,
Yeah.
children, I'm taking you down. So that I can have these like birth sayings and stuff behind me. I'm very excited for that.
Excellent.
Yeah, I gotta make my background be a little more exciting, and I'm gonna have
That's why
my,
I have this in my
and
background.
it's like beautiful, and I'm embarrassed for the beige sepia antique everything that's
It was
happening
in my
here.
hallway, and then I thought, and then this macrame plant hanger, which doesn't really, it's very, the plant, I'm afraid this plant's not doing well in there, but but whatever, that's what I have. Yeah.
And did you craft that yourself?
Are you
Maybe we
crazy?
can send that.
Did I craft that myself? No, I bought it on Etsy.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
I'm not, I used to be a big time crafter, but it is so gone. I haven't done any crafty things for a very, very long time. But there you go, pragmatic doulas. Yes. Hmm. All right. Oh, I was saying you do need to have read the book, and the book is called The Pull of the Stars by Emma Donoghue. And I got to tell you, it's a very fast read. I finished
Really
that book
is.
in like a day and a half.
Yeah, it's a
I mean, I
very
was
fast
reading
read.
it. So if you get it like today or on the weekend, and you consciously spend time, you'll definitely be able to finish reading it by Thursday when we're
Yeah.
recording the discussion.
I will
So
also say too, if anybody has a book that they want us to read, we'll
yeah, because
take that.
we got to figure out what our next read is.
Yeah, I think Carissa had suggested one. I can't remember what it is, but put up at the Kappa conference, I set up a group for doulas that read, and someone had suggested The German Midwife. So we had read The Midwife of Venice, and this one it's fiction.
It's
Um,
actually called The German Midwife.
I think it is, yeah, The German Midwife. So that's not, we haven't decided on that, but
Hmm.
we're gonna, we need to look into what our next book is going to be, because right now I don't have a book to read. I was going to read To Kill a Mockingbird, but
Mm,
everything is so fucking heavy right now. I needed something light and stupid.
that's not a light book.
Nope. So I put it down and I dug
Here's
in
a.
my closet for
If you,
something I'd already read.
oh, did you find something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because I was going to suggest a book called The Wives of Bath. I
Okay.
forget, I don't remember the author,
Is it
but
funny and bawdy?
it's funny. It's bawdy. It is so. It's I've actually I used to own it, and I'm sure I don't know where it is now, but it is really funny. And you know what? I love any of the shopaholic books. I
Yeah.
they're so stupid and silly, but I love when I'm in that mood, that fluff mood. Then that's what I. But The Wives of Bath was hilarious.
Okay, I'll look that one up.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, cool. So that's book corner.
That's Book Corner.
So yeah,
Get
so
the
please
what are you
message us
reading
by
today?
Wednesday the 16th,
Yes.
and I will send you guys the link.
Yes.
And in the meantime, I hope you have an amazing September. If your kids have gone back to school, I hope everybody
Oh,
is staying
yes.
safe.
Yes.
Um,
I hope you feel comfortable with whatever decisions or choices that you made or are being made for you.
yep.
Because I
And
know
if
it's
you
very fraught. This whole time is fraught with tension and anxiety for people with their kids going back.
Absolutely. And you know what? If you have opted to do online or at home teaching with your children, especially if they're the little guys,
Yeah,
look, don't stress too much.
that's right.
Life is the great educator.
Yeah.
So, don't panic too much if they're
Read them
just
lots of
not
books.
getting certain things. Who cares? Okay.
I homeschooled for 20 years, and let me tell you, read them lots of books. They'll be okay.
Yes.
Let them read lots of books. You know, online math programs. There's all kinds of stuff online. You guys are so lucky. I didn't have online stuff for
No.
most of those years to take advantage of, but they really are going to be okay. You
They
really need to
will.
take
They
that. They'll be
absolutely
okay.
will.
Yeah.
And try not to drink too much when you're teaching with them. And,
Just
that just sets a
lay it
bad
off
example.
scotch.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. If your kid says, "Mommy, your breath smells like whiskey," maybe lay off
That's not
a
good.
little bit, just a little, back off a bit. At the very
Wait
least,
till after 5. Wait till school's over.
yeah. All right.
All right. Have a great one. We
Come
love
back.
you. Stay safe. And we have a big shout out to Stephanie, who will be here, fingers crossed, next week.
Yes.
All
All right.
right.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Why is this?